In the vastness of space, the Galactic Empire ruled with an iron fist. Their ships filled the skies, and their power was known far and wide. Among them was the mightiest fleet ever assembled, a group of enormous warships gliding through the stars. Each ship was a fortress, armed with the latest technology and weapons. The commanders aboard these ships felt invincible, believing that no one could challenge their supremacy. They laughed and joked, certain that their next battle would be an easy victory. The flagship of the fleet, the Imperator, towered over the others. Its sleek design and glowing blue engines gave it an intimidating presence. Admiral Korik stood on the bridge, scanning the displays with a look of arrogance. He was a tall, imposing figure with sharp features and a reputation for ruthlessness. "Prepare to engage any intruders," he ordered, his voice steady and confident. "We will show them what true power looks like." Meanwhile, light years away, a small ship appeared on the radar. It was the USS Valiant, a human vessel that looked old and battered compared to the mighty ships of the Empire. Its hull was scratched, and its engines sputtered as it traveled through the empty void. Inside, the crew was busy at work, each member focused on their tasks. They were not as numerous as the Empire's crew, but they were determined and skilled. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the helm of the USS Valiant. She was a fierce leader with a passion for her crew and a strong belief in their mission. "We may be outnumbered, but we have something they don't," she told her crew, her voice filled with determination. "We have heart and creativity. Let's show them what humans can do." The crew nodded, sharing her enthusiasm. They were ready to fight for their home. As the USS Valiant approached the Imperial fleet, Admiral Korik received the warning from his sensors. "A single human ship? What a joke!" he exclaimed, laughing with his officers. "They must be foolish to enter our space. Prepare to crush them!" The commanders believed that this was merely a distraction, a small annoyance that would be dealt with quickly. The USS Valiant got closer, and Captain Reyes studied the Imperial ships. She noticed the gaps in their formation, weaknesses she could exploit. "Get ready for battle," she commanded, her heart racing with excitement. "We'll show them they can't underestimate us." The Imperator opened fire, its massive cannons roaring as they targeted the USS Valiant. Bright beams of energy shot through space, but the human ship was quick. "Evasive maneuvers," Reyes shouted. The crew worked together flawlessly, dodging the blasts and maneuvering through the chaos. The Valiant was small and agile, darting around like a fly in a room full of giants. "Return fire!" Reyes commanded. The crew activated their weapons, and the small ship unleashed a barrage of shots at the nearest Imperial fighter. To everyone's surprise, one of the shots hit its target, sending the enemy ship spiraling into the darkness. Cheers erupted from the crew, a mix of shock and exhilaration. They had done it! Admiral Korik watched in disbelief as his fighters began to fall. "What is happening?" he demanded, his confidence fading. "Send more ships to deal with that human vessel! They cannot escape us!" The USS Valiant pressed on, gaining momentum with each successful strike. The crew felt a surge of adrenaline as they faced overwhelming odds. They were fighting not just for survival, but to prove that humans could stand against the mighty Galactic Empire. With every enemy ship they took down, they forged a new story. A story of courage, hope, and resilience. As the battle raged on, the crew of the USS Valiant discovered that they were not just a small ship in a big fight, they were a symbol of defiance. They were determined to show the Empire that they were a force to be reckoned with. The stage was set for a showdown that would change the galaxy forever. The USS Valiant zipped through the darkness of space, its crew buzzing with excitement and nervous energy. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the helm, focused and ready for the fight ahead. They had already destroyed one Imperial fighter, but the biggest challenge was yet to come. The fleet of the Galactic Empire was relentless, and their confidence was slowly turning into anger. As the ship weaved through the stars, the crew received reports from the sensors. "More enemy ships are on the way," shouted Jacob, the ship's tactical officer. "They're sending 3 squadrons to take us down." His eyes widened, but he held on to hope. "We can do this, Captain. We just need to stick to the plan." Elena nodded, her heart pounding. "We will use the asteroid field to our advantage." "Stay sharp, everyone!" The crew tightened their grips on their controls, knowing the battle would soon begin. The Imperator loomed closer, flanked by powerful Imperial ships. Admiral Korik stood on the bridge of his flagship, his expression dark and furious. Those fools think they can escape us, he barked. Prepare to crush that human ship once and for all. He watched as his squadrons of fighters took off, their engines roaring to life. As the Imperial fighters approached, the USS Valiant entered the asteroid field. Rocks floated in the vast emptiness, creating a maze of obstacles. Elena took a deep breath, her fingers dancing over the controls. We're going to make them follow us in here. Trust each other and keep your eyes open. The enemy fighters surged into the field, their pilots eager to hunt down the human ship. Engage! Korik ordered, confident that the advantage was still his. But as the fighters closed in, they quickly realized that the asteroid field was not friendly terrain. Now let's show them what we can do, Elena shouted, flipping the ship into a sharp turn. The Valiant zipped past massive asteroids, barely avoiding collisions. The Imperial fighters struggled to keep up, their larger ships clumsy and vulnerable in the tight space. Open fire, Elena commanded. The crew launched their weapons, hitting an enemy fighter head-on. It exploded in a fiery burst, scattering debris. Yes, keep it up! Elena felt a rush of pride as her crew cheered. They were not just surviving, they were thriving against all odds. The Imperial pilots were frustrated. They're too fast! We need to split up, one pilot shouted. But as they scattered, it only played into the hands of the Valiant. Elena and her crew continued their evasive maneuvers, targeting the isolated enemy ships one by one. Look out! Shouted Sarah, the ship's engineer. An enemy fighter was closing in from behind, its guns blazing. The crew quickly braced for impact. Cut the engines and spin! Elena yelled. The Valiant slowed down just in time, spinning to avoid the blast. The enemy fighter flew past, crashing into an asteroid. Nice move, Captain, Jacob cheered. They were gaining momentum, and the crew felt their confidence grow with each successful hit. However, not all was smooth sailing. The Valiant was still outnumbered, and another squadron was approaching. We have incoming fire from the left, Jacob warned. Elena's heart raced as she focused on the screens. We need to retreat to a better position, she decided. Follow me! The crew maneuvered through the asteroid field, searching for cover. The Valiant zigzagged, using the asteroids as shields. They could hear the hum of enemy engines growing closer. They're trying to flank us, Sarah exclaimed, her fingers flying over her controls. Not on my watch, Elena replied fiercely. She turned the ship hard to the right, lining up for another shot. Fire at will! The USS Valiant unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, hitting 2 more enemy fighters. Their pilots were caught off guard, and the ships exploded in a blaze of light. Admiral Korik watched in frustration as his fleet fell apart. Get me more fighters! We cannot let a single human ship challenge us! But the more he ordered, the more chaos unfolded. The Valiant was winning, and the crew could feel the tide turning. As the battle continued, Elena looked at her crew, their faces lit by the screens in front of them. They were more than just a crew, they were a team. Together, they were proving that even a small human ship could stand tall against the mightiest fleet in the galaxy. The stage was set for a legendary battle, and the USS Valiant was determined to emerge victorious. After the chaotic skirmish, the USS Valiant floated quietly in the asteroid field. The crew was exhausted but buzzing with excitement. They had just defeated several Imperial fighters, but they knew the biggest challenge was still ahead. The Galactic Empire would not back down easily, and Admiral Korik would surely send more ships to hunt them down. Captain Elena Reyes gathered her crew in the ship's small briefing room. The walls were lined with screens showing the latest battle reports. She looked around at her team, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the screens. They were a mix of seasoned veterans and young recruits, but they shared one common goal: to protect their home and prove that humanity could stand against the Empire. Listen up, everyone, Elena began, her voice firm but encouraging. We did well today, but we need a solid plan to face the full might of the Imperial fleet. We can't let their numbers scare us. We have to outsmart them. The crew nodded, their determination clear in their eyes. Jacob, the tactical officer, spoke up. I've been analyzing their movements from the last battle. They tend to stick together in tight formations, thinking it makes them stronger. But it also makes them vulnerable to quick strikes. If we can split them up, we can pick them off one by one. That's a great idea, Jacob, Elena replied, feeling a surge of hope. We can use the asteroid field to create confusion. If we lure them into the rocks, they'll have to scatter. That's when we hit them. Sarah, the engineer, chimed in. I can modify our weapons to increase their firing rate. We'll need every advantage we can get if we're going to take on their capital ships. We'll also need to make sure our shields are at full strength. I can work on that. Perfect, Elena said, grateful for the team's commitment. We'll also need to use some tricks. We can create fake signals to make them think we're in different locations. If we can mislead them, we can strike when they least expect it. As the crew discussed their strategies, Elena felt the excitement build in the room. They were not just a crew, they were a family, united by their determination to fight back against the Empire. Each member brought their skills and ideas to the table, creating a plan that felt strong and creative. With the plan in place, the crew dispersed to prepare for battle. Elena moved to the command center where she could see the star maps of the area. The asteroid field was vast, and she started plotting their route, finding the best spots for ambushes. This is it, she whispered to herself. We can turn the tide. The crew worked hard in the hours leading up to the next fight. Jacob fine-tuned the ship's weapons, making them more powerful. Sarah and her team focused on repairing any damage and ensuring the shields were ready to take a hit. The atmosphere on the Valiant was electric, filled with hope and determination. As they finished their preparations, the crew gathered again in the briefing room. Elena looked around at their eager faces, feeling proud of what they had accomplished together. This is our chance to show the Empire that we are not afraid. Remember, they think we're just a small ship. Let's prove them wrong. With a chorus of agreement, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were ready to face whatever the Empire threw at them. They were no longer just fighting for survival, they were fighting to reclaim their honor and their place in the galaxy. As they settled into their positions, Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of leadership on her shoulders. She knew the risks ahead, but also the strength of her crew. Let's do this, she said, her voice steady. For humanity! With that, the USS Valiant powered up, its engines humming with life. The crew felt the energy coursing through the ship, ready to face the might of the Galactic Empire. As they moved deeper into the asteroid field, they knew they were about to make history. The battle would be fierce, but together they believed they could win. The USS Valiant emerged from the asteroid field, its crew tense but determined. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the helm, her heart racing as she peered out into the vastness of space. Before them lay the formidable fleet of the Galactic Empire, dozens of ships lined up like a wall of steel. The Empire was ready for battle, but so were they. Admiral Korik is not going to take us lightly this time, Jacob, the tactical officer warned. He knows we are a threat now. We need to strike hard and fast. Elena nodded, her grip tightening on the controls. Remember the plan. We'll create confusion and strike at their weakest points. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The crew cheered, their spirits high despite the odds stacked against them. As the Valiant approached the enemy fleet, Elena activated the ship's cloaking device. The small ship blended into the darkness of space, invisible to the Imperial sensors. Now we wait, she said, her voice steady. Keep your eyes open. The tension in the air was thick as they watched the enemy ships maneuver. Suddenly, Korik's voice boomed over the fleet's communications. All units prepare for battle. Show no mercy. His words sent shivers down the crew's spines, but they held their ground, knowing they had a plan. Elena looked at her crew, feeling their determination. On my mark, we will disable their communications. That will create chaos in their ranks. Ready? Ready, the crew replied in unison. With a deep breath, Elena issued the command. Now! Target their communications ship. The Valiant sprang into action, firing its weapons with precision. Bright beams of energy shot toward the enemy ship, hitting it directly. The Imperial comms exploded in a flash of light and chaos erupted within the fleet. Direct hit! Jacob shouted, grinning. They're scrambling to understand what just happened. Let's take advantage of the confusion, Elena urged. Move in closer. The USS Valiant darted toward the nearest Imperial ship, weaving through enemy fire. The crew worked like a well-oiled machine, firing back at the enemy. Each blast was filled with purpose as they fought for their lives. Elena felt the adrenaline rush through her veins. This was their moment. More enemy ships responded to the attack, and the battle escalated quickly. Explosions rocked the area as Imperial fighters engaged, trying to regain control. But the Valiant was agile and quick, darting between the larger ships with ease. Here they come! Sarah, the engineer, shouted. 2 fighters on our tail! Not for long! Elena replied, spinning the ship sharply. The Valiant executed a daring maneuver, sending the 2 enemy fighters crashing into an asteroid. The crew erupted in cheers, their confidence soaring with each victory. "Let's keep moving," Jacob urged. "We need to break their formation." Elena nodded, her focus unwavering. They pushed deeper into the heart of the Imperial fleet, firing at one ship after another. The Valiant became a whirlwind of energy, striking down enemies left and right. Their small size made them hard to target, allowing the crew to continue their assault. But the Empire was not done yet. Korik, furious and desperate, sent in more ships to confront the human vessel. "We will crush that ship," he roared. "Deploy the heavy artillery!" Elena felt the weight of the Empire's fury as she watched larger Imperial ships move in to surround them. "We have to stay mobile," she shouted. "Don't let them trap us!" The crew fought valiantly, but the overwhelming numbers of the Empire began to take their toll. The shields of the Valiant flickered under the relentless fire, and Elena knew they had to act fast. "Pull back to the asteroid field," she commanded. "We'll use it as cover again." The crew quickly complied, maneuvering the ship through the maze of rocks. As they entered the field, Elena felt a surge of hope. The asteroids had saved them once before, and she knew they could use them to turn the tide again. "Stay close together and let them come to us," she instructed. One by one, the Imperial ships followed the Valiant into the field, their large frames struggling to navigate the tight spaces. Elena smiled as the enemy became disoriented, and the Valiant sprang into action. With newfound energy, the crew launched a surprise attack from behind the asteroids. Bright beams of energy lit up the dark space, and enemy ships began to fall one after another. The crew's morale soared as they saw their strategy working. "This is our fight!" Elena shouted, her voice filled with passion. "We won't back down!" As the battle raged on, the crew of the USS Valiant proved that even a small ship could make a significant impact. Together, they fought not just for their survival, but for the future of humanity. The tide was turning, and the Empire was about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The battle had been fierce, but now silence fell over the wreckage of the Galactic Empire's fleet. The USS Valiant, battered but intact, floated among the debris of enemy ships. The crew was exhausted but exhilarated, their hearts filled with pride at their hard-won victory. Captain Elena Reyes surveyed the scene from the command center, a mix of disbelief and joy on her face. "We did it!" Jacob shouted, pumping his fist into the air. The rest of the crew erupted into cheers, their voices echoing through the ship. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious against one of the mightiest fleets in the galaxy. "Hold on, everyone!" Elena called over the noise. "Let's not celebrate just yet. We need to assess the damage and make sure we're safe." The cheers quieted down as the crew focused on their tasks, ready to check for any remaining threats. Sarah, the engineer, began scanning their systems. "Shields are down to 30% and we have some hull damage. We need to make repairs fast. But otherwise, we're in good shape." Her voice was filled with relief, and the crew shared her excitement. "Good work, everyone," Elena said, feeling proud of her team. "We faced a fleet that wanted to crush us, and we turned the tide. Let's make sure we can get home safely." As they worked on repairs, Jacob reviewed the battle data. "Admiral Korik will be furious. We need to stay alert. He might send more ships after us once he realizes what happened here." "I doubt he'll recover quickly after this defeat," Elena replied, her confidence growing. "But we should still be cautious. Let's set a course for Earth. We have a story to tell, and the galaxy needs to know that humanity will not back down." The crew quickly made the necessary repairs, their spirits high as they realized what they had accomplished. The Valiant was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of hope and resilience. They had shown that even a single human vessel could take on the might of the Empire and win. As they entered the ship's navigation systems, Elena felt a wave of emotion wash over her. They had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, but they had emerged stronger. "Set the course for home," she said, her voice steady. "Let's get back to Earth and share our victory with everyone." As the ship powered up and the stars shifted outside the viewports, the crew gathered around Elena. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked, her eyes shining with excitement. "We prepare," Elena replied, her tone serious. "We share what we've learned and train for future battles. The Empire will not forget us, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." As the ship sped through space, the crew began to discuss their plans. They would share their battle tactics and the importance of teamwork with other human ships. They would train others to fight and ensure humanity would always be prepared to defend its home. Days later, as the Valiant approached Earth, the crew felt a mix of pride and anticipation. They were bringing back not just a victory, but a story of courage and hope. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, the ship was met with cheers from fellow humans who had gathered to welcome them home. When the Valiant landed, Elena stepped out to face the crowd. "We fought against the Empire and won!" she shouted, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by the news. "This victory is for all of us. It shows that when we stand together, we can overcome anything." The people of Earth celebrated their heroes. The crew of the Valiant was honored, their bravery recognized across the globe. News of their triumph spread quickly, inspiring others to prepare for the challenges ahead. The battle was just the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. In the days that followed, Elena and her crew shared their experiences, teaching others what they had learned. They formed alliances with other human ships, creating a united front against the Galactic Empire. The Valiant became a symbol of hope, proving that even the smallest force could make a big difference. As they prepared for the next challenges, Elena knew that humanity was no longer alone. They were part of something greater, a collective force ready to defend their home. Together, they would face whatever the universe threw at them, and they would do it as one. With the spirit of unity and determination, the crew of the USS Valiant looked forward to the future. They had fought for their place in the galaxy, and now they would continue to forge a path for humanity. The battle had changed everything, and a new beginning awaited them all.